Good evening, it's 6:01, and I would like to call to order the regular meeting of April 5th, 2023. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. Roll call, please.
Member Chow,
Present.
Vice Chair McKay,
Present.
Shirley Khan.
Present.
And for the record, at the moment, Committee Member Chang and Committee Member Batinij are not present.
The agenda is posted 72 hours prior to each meeting at the following locations: City Hall, the Pearl Public Library, and the Stoneman Building. The agenda is also posted on the city's website. The city welcomes public input. At this time, the public may address the Design Review Committee on items that are not on the agenda. Pursuant to state law, the Design Review Committee may not discuss or take action on issues not on the meeting agenda. To ensure that everyone, including those joining us remotely, are able to hear all speakers clearly, please speak directly into the microphone. Please note that all comments are limited to 3 minutes and will be timed by city staff. I would now like to ask staff to explain how the public comments will work for those individuals participating through Zoom and phone.
Participating through Zoom or phone, during the items public speaking portion, you can use the raised hand feature on Zoom, or you can email us at planning@cityofsanmarino.org, and we will read your public comment during the public comment period for that item.
If so.
We do not.
Moving on to public hearing. Each committee member has received plans and staff comments and has reviewed every item on the agenda and visited each site. The general order for hearing each case will be as follows. Staff will discuss the case and provide background information and a recommendation. Many members may ask questions of staff after the presentation. The applicant will then present their project if they desire to do so. The committee may take the opportunity to ask the applicant questions. The hearing will then open up for public comment from in-person and teleconference participants. At the conclusion of public comment, the applicant will have a chance to respond to the public comments, at which time the public comment will be closed. I will then ask for comments from each committee member for discussion, but please do not repeat comments made by your fellow committee members. Committee members may then vote to approve, deny, or continue the project. In the event of a denial, it is hoped that the applicant will have heard comments during the public comment period and during deliberation that will be useful in resubmitting an application. It is also important to understand that there is a 15-day appeal period after an action has been taken for the applicant or an interested party to request the planning commission to review and act on the case. Okay, we're ready for item number 1.
Item number 1 will be presented by Assistant Planner Eric G.
Thank you, Chair and members. This is Assistant Planner Eric G presenting case number DR 2249 and DR 22-63 at 1831 Windsor Road. For DR 2249, the applicant is proposing to addition to the north and south side of the property, totaling 449 square foot addition that exceeds more than 25% of the length of the existing sites, which will remove 2 established streets, which have been reviewed and supported by the city of Urban Forester. For DR 22-63, for the alteration of the existing property that is visible from the public street, includes the increased height of the roof pitch and replacing a front casement window into a French door with sidelights and the widening of the portico shape. The project also proposes the following that are not subject to design review, which includes the replacement of the existing garage with the new garage, design changes to railings, installation of the light fixtures to the portico shape, installation of the side yard fences, and the new landscaping, which is below 25% impervious coverage. The project is identified as a district non-contributor on the citywide historic resource survey due to extensive alteration, and identifies the home as a Spanish colonial revival built in 1927. There are 14 legal neighbors, 9 of which have signed for approval and 5 non-responses. The project is categorically exempt from CEQA, and project meets all findings, and staff recommends the approval of the project with the added condition that both skylights be flush with the roof and not be visible to the public street. That concludes the staff report, and staff is available to answer any questions. The applicant and the applicant's representative is also present. If you have any questions for them as well. Thank you.
Questions for staff? No. Applicant wants to present?
Hi, hi Design Committee. My name is Juliana, and this is my husband Patrick Kane. We are the owners of 1831 Windsor Road. So we are here today to present to you our proposal for updating our home. Our parents live on Adair Street for over 10 years, so we're really excited to be part of the community and to raise our family. So we purchased the home in 2021 because we fell in love with Spanish style architecture, especially the arches and the courtyard in the front. So from the very beginning, our design intent was to keep the character as much as possible, but to update it in order to raise our family there. So taking it from a 3-bedroom, 2-bath to a 4-bedroom, 3-bath. The home was built in 1927, and it has only gone through minimal interior updates, and much of the structure is in a state of disrepair. So we're hoping to get your support on this update, and that I'll let Diana go into the details.
As the homeowners mentioned, that they love the architecture of the home. So from the get-go, the design goal is to maintain the character of the front facade, as well as preserve the home's existing architectural features and materials as possible. Please. One of the changes that we are making to the front facade is we are widening the porte-cochere arch by about a foot in order to accommodate modern vehicles. But also, as you can see in the slide here, the existing porte-cochere arch is not aligned with the center of the gable roof above it. And so by widening it to the left by about a foot and a little bit on the right, we will be able to align the arch with the gable more appropriately. And we consider this to be an improvement and a more intentional design. Next slide, please. For the addition, we are proposing a single hip roof over the rear of the home to unify the currently fragmented design. And this hip roof is a commonly utilized roof design for Spanish colonial revival architecture. And as you can see in our block and also our neighborhood here, there's a number of Spanish style homes that have partial or elements of their home have hip roofs. And that's not including the very similar red clay hip roofs that are on Mediterranean style homes, which are also very numerous in the neighborhood, as you can see by all of the red clay just in this aerial view. Next slide, please. The roof that we're proposing is completely derived from the existing structure. So if you look at the roof plan on the right, you can see that the part that's highlighted in yellow is shows that the existing living room roof is not only coplanar at the same height and also at the same slope as the new proposed roof. So we're proposing this new roof to be an extension of the front living room roof. And also we understand that this is going to create a new visible peak that will be visible from the street. That being said, if you look at, I know numbers are so small, but if you look at where the peak is, sort of where that long dimension line is stopping, that's about 80 feet away from the property line, which is very far back, and we believe that it won't be conspicuous. And we tested that in person. Next slide, please. The homeowners and I went out on a rainy day to set up a pole that is the height of the record recorded height of our proposed roof. And here on the bottom, you can see a view of a picture taken from the street tree that's on the parkway underneath the street tree. So that's where the photo is taken from. But you can see the zoomed in bubble of where Patrick is standing next to our pole. That it really isn't conspicuous. You can see where on the right is an existing plan of where we placed that pole to show the closest point of the hip roof to the street. Please. So on the top here you see the existing facade, and the bottom is our rendering of our new design. And you can see. Oh, sorry. Yes. On the bottom is. On the bottom is our new design, and you can see our new design not only preserves, but also tries to enhance a number of these elements that are listed in the design review guidelines, the residential design guidelines for San Marino, and everything from the 1 to 1.5 stories to the low pitch roof, even to the indoor-outdoor continuity that we're enhancing by proposing that French door to the front courtyard that is currently not being used. As part of our proposal, we are removing 5 trees, and we met with Laura, the urban forester, on site back in November, and she has no concerns about the removal of any of these trees. In fact, I think she encourages the replacement of better trees in more habitable locations. And lastly, the homeowners have really made every effort to engage their neighbors regarding the proposed design. They have knocked on doors, and they have sent out certified mailing where they weren't able to meet the neighbors in person. We are also currently in discussion with our immediate neighbors to the west and to the south regarding a shared or mutually agreeable fence design and location. So this is an ongoing discussion that they're working on at the moment. And as a result, we've received 9 approvals out of the total 14, including approvals from many of our immediate neighbors. And as you can see, some of them even have very positive comments about our plans. So, and as a team, we've really endeavored to create a modest and intentional proposal, and we truly believe that it's an improvement upon the existing design. So thank you for your consideration.
Vice Chair McKay. So are you stating that the new roof is the same exact slope as the current roof?
As the front roof, as the current living room roof, not the rear, because the rear right now is a series of low segments with a flat in the middle, flat pitch in the middle. Part of the reason for wanting to create this new roof is that currently there's no, functionally, there's no air conditioning, there's no furnace in the attic, and the attic is incredibly small due to the low height of the existing roof. And so part of the reason for creating this is to allow for the modernization of this home.
Thank you, Chair. Let me go for my physical. So, I think my main question is regarding the proposed widening. Because as you pointed out, the only pointed out is it's a home and it hasn't really been altered that much. So I just want to make sure that this part is done correctly. Because you're not really widening it proportional, right? One side is increasing the property, you said one side is about a foot, the other side is a little bit less. Your plan, you said 6 inches on each side. Could you just kind of,
It's about, I believe it's about 7 inches on one side and it's about 4 and a little bit more to be a foot total
so facing the property, 7 inches on
on the left and 4 on the right. But I believe, so as you can see in our materials palette, I think keeping the materials palette and the character of the home is of utmost importance to us. And in widening of the arch, we will endeavor to do everything we can. We'll replace the capitals that we will destroy inevitably in the widening of this. So,
going up that picture again, you had one, how the center piece. The center line is a little
slide
off.
to, yeah,
It seems to me, if you want to, you said, if you're looking at this photo, which side is going to,
we're going to reduce more on the left side.
okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Then the question is, what about the arch curve itself? Is that going to change?
It's going to be changed according to the drawing. So basically, the elevation that you see on the right is going to be how the arch is going to change.
So that is the size.
Yeah.
Which, you basically just gonna widen it, but you're not raising the upper part.
No, we're
Okay.
not. That is not our. And
What about-
obviously, with the altering of existing structures, there's always an element of surprise once you open up the stucco behind it, right? So granted, we don't know what kind of surprises will happen, but we can assure you that no matter what we find beneath, it's really important to us that we do this in an unobtrusive way to the front facade.
These are, again, I'm asking these, maybe the people questions. I just want to make sure that the symmetry and all the proportion is observed. If it gets too skinny, then we're not a good balance. What about the driveway? Because once you widen it, you also need driveway, right?
Right, we are proposing a new driveway that is on our landscape plan, and it's going to be stamped concrete like it is existing. We're still working out with the landscape architect as to what exact stamp pattern it's going to be, but it's stamped driveway.
My next question, it's regarding the fences, for the gate and side fences you're proposing. I know it's not necessarily under our purview, but I would like to see if you could give me some feedback, perhaps credible, maybe discuss. I just find that, my opinion, that I find that according to your proposal, you're gonna have the front all kind of fenced up, side, one side to the other side. Why do you need, well, besides the gate underneath for the portico share, why do you need another fence on to this right?
There's
If you're looking at the photo.
if we're looking, so to the right, we're not fencing anything in front of the porte cochere. There's going to be some new trees. But behind the porte cochere, there is existing chain link fence that exists between the 1831 and the property to the north. On the left side of the porte cochere, on the left side of the living room, there currently is an entire stretch of land that does not have a fence in between our, basically our living room and bedroom wing, and basically the entire wing of the house to our south. And so I believe that the fencing is pretty important in terms of providing privacy for both parties. Also, they're going to have young children and they have a dog. So part of the reason for fencing everything off is to create more security for the future inhabitants.
So you were referring to the fence on the.
Yeah,
Okay, talking about that north side one,
okay.
help me to understand, is that flush to the porte cochere gate?
No, it's a little bit
It's- it's
behind.
a little
It's
setback.
a little bit
Okay,
setback.
It's kind of for that walk.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
All right. That's it, thank you.
Can I ask a question about the wall to the south? Since the majority of the side property belongs to your lot. Have you worked with your neighbor as far as letting them know how far that wall is going to be going over and your intention with the wall?
I didn't personally speak with the neighbors, but when they went over to show them the plans, I think they began the discussion about potentially having a fence there, and I believe the reception was favorable. Do you want to?
So we walked them through our plans and we're proposing to build a fence, whether it's on the property line or to just step back, which is, I know, the guideline. We haven't determined exactly what material, but we discussed. Like also, so they're well aware of our intentions. We just haven't finalized anything, but it's in the works. So in terms of exact details, I don't have that yet, but it will be there.
And the reason for all of the skylights.
There's a number of rooms. I think we're trying to be a little bit more conservative in the adding of area to the home, you know, restraining this or restricting this to full story. And so there are a number of rooms that are landlocked inside the home, particularly like a bathroom and a hallway. And above that bathroom and the hallway, we are proposing, that's where the main mechanical area for the attic that we're thinking about is going to be, because we want to give Juliana her dream high ceiling kitchen. And so that's the other reason for the high ceiling and the skylight on one side. On the other side is to provide light in the sort of lower ceiling areas and in a dense sort of circulation zone, because that's going to be a knuckle for 2 of the bedrooms and a shared bathroom.
And is it possible to make a flush? How confident are you that it could be functional skylight that's flush
And I think
and not visible?
I'm fairly confident. And also I think the fact that we are placing the skylight on a slope rather than on a flat surface, it eliminates the, you know, it allows for the natural gravity drainage to help with the performance of the skylights themselves, which doesn't necessitate the need for, or maybe reduces the need. Skylights are not forever, as we know, but it reduces the need for building a really high curve around the skylight. And also, you know, as you can see in the design, we're not proposing anything bubbly. That's not, you know, our intent is also for the skylights to be as inconspicuous as possible.
So to follow up on that, you show us the south elevation. Skylights.
There's 2 skylights on the south elevation. They're not in my slides, but they are in the plans.
More than 2 total.
Right, it's only on that one side.
Construction. That's existing.
Next page, yeah. You zoom in a little bit.
How many skylights altogether?
5 total.
So to the other side, I can see one,
One facing the backyard,
In the
and
back.
one facing.
Those are the kitchen.
let me see the 2 facing north.
Uh,
Please.
That's the low strong.
Okay, yeah, I understand.
think this is a very, okay. Thank you, staff.
Yes, where is the trash can?
The trash cans right now, we're thinking about storing behind the foreclosure next to the dining room. I think is what we're thinking about, or behind the entire building. Next to the side entrance where there's currently an indentation on the house. We're keeping that in.
On the north side. On the driveway side.
Yeah, on the driveway side, yeah.
One more question.
I do like to follow up on the skyline because I think this might be a. Do you see a solution if, let's just say we want to reduce the, how many skylights there are?
I think not without reducing the quality of the space on the inside. Because I feel like the two, especially the two on the south, are critical. One is for a bathroom that does not have a window. And then the other, I think, is for a hallway that I really think would be beneficial to have some light so deep in the home. And I think the two for the skylight is because she wants a nice airy kitchen. And we can talk about the square footage, but I really don't think the reduction of the number of skylights would be an improvement on the design perspective.
One more question. Eliminating the window on the south side in the living room, replacing it with the French doors. What is the purpose of that? 'Cause that isn't something we typically see in homes in the neighborhood, having an entrance on the side that isn't the utility side. You know, usually the side that people are using to enter next to the house are on one side of the house or the front door.
Part of the reason is because they have two dogs together. And I think in the honesty, they want to fence off that part of the fence as an area that they can allow the dogs to go and have their space. And when they have children, that's an easily enclosable area in case when the children are young. And so part of the reason for having that access on the living room side is to allow for ease of human access to that side of the house so that they can easily, take care of the dogs when they're out there.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you.
Move to committee member discussion. Oh, public comment. Is there anyone who would like to make a public comment here today or anyone online?
Online, let's take a comment. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and we'll move on to committee member discussion. Committee member Chen.
Thank you, Chair. I think, first I want to appreciate the presentation and the information. For me, I think the massing is okay for this project. I think overall, I think I can support the project. I do have some concerns regarding the skyline. But in terms of massing, because this is quite a big issue. However, after surveying the neighborhood, I think the massing is compatible with, and seems like the also is compatible with the existing home itself. I do think there are too many skylights. I don't think it's compatible architecturally. They kind of really are very visible. I'd like to hear members feedback on that, and how do we go about if we want to make any suggestions. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Vice Chair, okay. Thank you. Like committee member, I want to thank the applicant and the representative for a thoughtful presentation, much appreciated. And actually, I think served to give us a lot of important information. I also want to commend the applicant for a diligent and conscientious solicitation of your neighbors in the legal neighborhood, which is much appreciated. Not only did you sort of fulfill your responsibilities in terms of soliciting their comments, but it was clear that you did so in a really fulsome way, and that's much appreciated. The neighbors in the legal neighborhood. That not only do they not object, but they are very enthusiastic about this project. And that is the house has been in dire need of care, and it's really in an unfortunate state of disrepair. So I can imagine that this project will be very welcome in the neighborhood and will be a great improvement. So I think all of that is wonderful. Like my fellow committee member, I find that it's not an overambitious project. So the addition is compatible with the home itself in terms of the massing. And clearly in the neighborhood, there are much larger homes. So I can also see that. I think that my concerns this evening mirror perhaps my fellow committee members in two regards. One, the skylights, because I think that we have had enough experience to know that they can become problematic, not even down the line. And, you know, is there a sense that it's detracting from the home's architecture? You know, that's what I want to talk about. I also want to talk about the roof. I think I had more concern coming into the meeting perhaps than I have now, but I would like to know what my fellow committee members think about the roof, because I just want to make sure that we are comfortable that it is compatible. Again, very much appreciate the applicant's representative's presentation, because in seeing the homes in not only the legal neighborhood and then the larger neighborhood, it appears that this design of roof is not incompatible in the neighborhood. So I guess my question is to my fellow committee members, for discussion purposes, is it compatible with the structure itself? Thank you.
So to follow up on the slope of the roof, referring to the what's in the back, right?
Correct.
The
The slope, the design, the appearance of it is the shadow structure itself.
basically it's the same slope, so it's maybe the back. Well, I'm gonna take a look at the plan one more time, but let me just get to the skylight itself. I do think it's distracting, but I'm not entirely clear. Let's just say that's the only situation, is the skylight. That how do we?
I just want to add something to the discussion. I'm not sure if this happened before you stated this, but skylights that are not visible from line elevation or from public line view can be approved administratively.
Not within our group.
Correct.
Thank you. But could certainly be discussed in terms of suggestion.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, Director.
said it's not straight street facing, but the second thing is that, if it cannot be seen from the street.
If it's not visible from the public right away, or it's not in the front elevation, it's not within the purview.
It is not, visible from the front elevation, west elevation. But, it seems to me that, the south side, the south elevation, because it's sitting up so high, and the home right next to it is a much smaller home. So it seems to me that those two skylights would be seen
From which,
from Windsor. You will definitely see it from Windsor. If you drive
Because the
north,
trees are all coming down too.
drive north on Windsor from the south, you would definitely see those two skylights.
if the DRC can make that nexus, then it would be within the purview.
Well, I mean, once all those gigantic palms are the birds of paradise and the other tree. I don't know what the landscaping is on the side, but those trees are all coming down and the roof is it's gonna be prominent because of the reduction of the landscaping and the lower house next to it. I wasn't thinking about this earlier, but now that you're saying it is visible. I could see how that could be. And is there any landscaping that they're planning on adding to the side? No. Although that the house, Spanish colonial houses can, and when you're narrow, it can get quite dark. So skylights, I see where you're wanting to add them because you're not adding so much square footage, so you don't have a lot of open areas, windows. So in reducing the square footage, like you need some skylights because you're not adding on wings to the house. You're leaving a lot of open space. in the property, so. See the landscape to the side.
It doesn't count as screening.
Right, so it's not being screening as far as we know. For the skylights. That's what I'm trying to determine.
If DRC can make the nexus that there is that the skylights are visible from public right away, and you can determine which one specifically. Actually, can you pull it up so we can see which ones are the ones that are in question?
The bedrooms. So. Are you asking for the elevation? Hold up, yes. We can all look at it. Because they're not desirable, they're not encouraged in the design guidelines, so. I understand the need for light also, but we just have to be careful that they aren't too visible. We don't want them visible to the street. So determining how we look.
This is the first time that shows all the skylights, so.
Maybe the south elevation. South side is the side that doesn't have the partition. The right. side. Those two. One's kind of square and one's a rectangle. Brick. Is this the one you're more concerned with? Those two that are. Director, were you asking for the elevation for the south side to be pulled up?
Correct.
Oh, you
Yes.
want the elevation?
Yes.
But just to confirm, those are the two that DRC will be visible from the public right away.
Zoom in on that. the new hip line is 18 feet high, 18.4 or something, so it's pretty high.
So if those, if the DRC makes that nexus, then DRC has the ability to weigh on the approval of those two, not the other one.
Are those in the, what about there?
Square one is over the bathroom, and the rectangle is the one over the hallway. And we understand that the skylights are undesirable from public view, which is why that squares, the bathroom kind of inhabitates the area that's right under the peak of the hip. And so in a way, that's the only place where we can place a skylight and not have it be facing the front of the facade, not have the skylight be on the front facade.
And what are the dimensions on those?
22 by 22, and I put a small one, and the other one I believe was 22 by 32, 36.
Then we'd like to sum some of this up. So we're all in favor of the general plan. And we find it's compatible and it's taking out the original design, it's compatible with the neighborhood. We're just having some issues. I was trying to make, some issues with the roof line itself. I wanted the subject, put that subject to discussion. Are we comfortable that the roof line, the roof design is compatible with the structure itself, not with the legal neighborhood, because I think I'm satisfied on that.
If you go to, whichever elevation that you mostly identify your concerns and we can.
I guess it's the front elevation, right? Because that's all we can be concerned with generally. I mean, that's what we would most be concerned with. Maybe not, maybe, I don't know. I would love to see it from, do you want to have them all for the front and then maybe the back? When you,
Can you pull up the color rendering?
yeah. Because with the poll, and that was a very interesting experiment and illustration that actually served to probably assuage a lot of concerns, if that is indeed accurate in terms of dimensions, because the rendering or the design, whatever you want to call it, the elevations, make it look more prominent. Do you not agree? See right there, I barely noticed it. Correct.
Also with the elevation, we're really getting close up of what it's supposed to look like. It doesn't
Right.
give you the perception of someone near the public right of way, and that's why we had and or recommended to the applicant that they have that reference point so that we can get that for the public right of way.
That was very helpful. Very helpful. It doesn't give perspective, right? And somebody make me a comment on the screen, or is that something?
It is, but our public comment portion is closed.
So I think in light of now, if it just west elevation, which is a front elevation, I think. This is acceptable.
So
I
thought about
am
it a lot
kind
too.
of
I'm like,
on the skyline.
okay, where do we net out?
That just, even that is just two skylights, but I think it's very visible. It's at the highest point of the, it's kind of at the weakest point of the architectural design, with those two, skylights placed there. So, unfortunately, I just can't support it fully, without making changes.
For the ones on the north side. Both the north side.
If I may, Commissioner, Member Chow, would you be in support of potential line of sight elevation or survey that they can apply on a future date as a condition of approval to prove if the new skylights would be visible to the south side?
Could you elaborate a little bit, line of sight?
A line of sight elevation where it shows the angle visible from the actual street
Sure.
as a condition of approval for staff to confirm?
So the exact process would be, is that over the counter, you're saying, or?
Well, it would
that's gonna
be,
a continuous?
I mean, it can be both ways. You can condition it as a condition of approval per se, where it would be a line of sight survey submitted to staff to confirm that the two skylights shown to the south elevation would not be visible from the street. And if the survey indicates that it is, then that they should be removed or eliminated from the plans.
I worked out with staff, right?
Correct.
With the proper record, because I'm pretty confident it's gonna be there.
Mm.
However, to kind of speed up this process, to make it reasonable, I think that seems okay. If the applicant is providing accurate rendering from the street, looking outside and take out the plans and the current plans and show to staff if staff finds it satisfactory.
And if not, if it's shown, then it would be removed.
Yeah, I think we will want specific direction as to what you want if
If it is
it's
visible.
right.
I can go there and take a couple reference photos. For example, from the middle of the street.
I don't think that's what director is suggesting.
Okay,
I think
so-
director is suggesting that we need to, as if we're going to approve with a condition, that we approve with this condition, but that we make it very specific and clear and clarify that if indeed it's apparent from the street, it's visible from the street, what is the next step? Are we going to have them come back? So do we at that point continue it? Do we at that point have them come back at the very next C meeting? I think the option is not to eliminate them because they don't have windows. So we eliminate the hallway because they won't need a window in a hallway, but bathroom has no window. I'm saying we to eliminate the
So
altogether.
if I'm hearing this correctly, there's the appetite of perhaps approving one of them, but not the other one if it's visible from the street.
But I know one of them, they're probably not going to want to eliminate their skylights because of the no window in a bathroom situation for one of them. So I'm thinking have them come back to DRC, but be a whole redesign of the property. I mean,
I mean, eliminating the skylights, they can still meet building code. So
can the
it's,
skylights be reduced in size?
that can be a condition of the DRC.
Before we go, so skylights are not required for building code, more of a personal preference. And can I ask the applicant if the applicant is open to the option of reducing the size of the skylights?
If they're found to be visible.
Do you see the size or two? I mean,
Or
would
to
you still be
eliminate.
able to have two of them?
If visible from the street, would you be open to reducing the size?
I think yes, as long as we can keep two skylights, which is pretty important in my mind, to have light in the hallway and the bathroom.
So applicant is open, really up to your seat.
I'm,
We need to know what's gonna happen if we find them visible, and we're gonna make it back to DRC or
I
not.
think assume that they're gonna be visible just based on the, I'm just looking at Google. On the street map. It's connected. This just assume they are, so if they are gonna be visible, hopefully they're not, but if they are,
Right.
what's the specific direction for DRC?
See, if they don't want to eliminate the skylights, then it's a whole new redesign. Right? The whole- Yeah, for that area, but
That would
then,
just be an internal redesign, not a re-roof. They would eliminate the skylights from the roof.
Right.
But
then that kind of sets up the whole plan inside. That is like that in the first. You know what I'm saying?
Have to redesign if those two skylights are removed?
No, you don't have to. I was thinking
Right,
that's part of.
Part of the reason for why we find the skylights necessary in this new design is because the existing plan of the house has a long hallway down the middle. And that hallway is incredibly dark and unpleasant. And so that's part of the reason why we want to bring light into our hallway. And we understand the concern about the roof and the street. That being said, there is a chimney and there is a tall mast in the front of the street. And I think it's important to maybe remember that this mast is going to be tilting towards the center of the property. So it's not, even though in elevation, it is see it all at the very edge, but the roof tilts towards that point that it's actually very close to where our pole is that we made, because it's very close to that tip. So you have to remember that it's also tilting towards that peak there. And actually, I would say from the south side, I'm not so sure that it will be visible because of that living room mass, because it's going back 80 feet. But we're willing to do the rendering if that's what
Well,
it takes to get us through.
I think it's reasonable to expect it to be visible based on the evidence that we have tonight. You could, if you want, if you're open to continuing this, you get the line of sight, that's up to you. However, if you're open to the line of sight, have staff review it with specific direction from DRC, we can do that. The question still remains, if it's visible, what is the specific direction from DRC? And so the question is, would you answer, you are willing to reduce the size of the skylights?
Yeah, and I believe time is kind of the essence,
Right.
just because she is due in 3 weeks. So if we can continue this without having, if we can approve this without having to come back, that would be.
So it's really up to DRC at this point.
See, here's my this point is, I really think that we are trying very hard to make it work for the applicant. My sense is that the architect is just trying to also very hard to not to make changes. For me, that just is not right. Everybody in San Marino, 80% can probably use 2 more skylights. That doesn't mean that it's gonna get approved or it's architecturally compatible with the homes. So we have to really just kind of look at the design guidelines and cut through all this. If it's just for my opinion, I would say no skylights there because it is going to be visible. If you can improve otherwise, then you can have skylights. Otherwise, I say no skylights there.
Because I'm thinking that we can approve it with the condition that the skylights are not visible from the public.
Confirm with the line of sight.
And if so, you continue without the skylights. And if that's not an option, not to remove the skylight, then come back to DRC. So I would just say that we need to go back to the applicant's answer.
Priority of things. We're willing to make changes if it means that. We can. I think I believe time. So we're willing to make changes. I just wanted to explain the rationale for us design. So I apologize if that comes across as being offensive, but I just wanted to explain to you guys internally or interior wise why the skylights were necessary.
I think that we didn't talk about is the addition of the new door on the side. That was, we got a little distracted with the skylight, but that was the one area that I was having more trouble with. Adding that French door to that south side. With a privacy issue with the neighbor to the south, because the house sits so much higher than the ground. So someone will be coming out and staring into the house door. And since the door is going to be used all the time, there's even a walkway in the front that's headed that way. So I appreciate wanting to have that space closed and private for yourself. But I do see a privacy issue with the addition of the door. Some discussion about a fence being put right, but the house sits much higher. So when you add the door, it's going to be much higher than the ground. You're standing up and then you have to come down the stairs. I mean, maybe it's no different than it is right now, but people are going to be opening the door and going in and out all the time. And that seems like it'll be a privacy issue with the neighbor, even with the six cover. That's it. Well, yes. Okay with that, okay. Right, so. Do you want to make a motion? Or do you want to talk about this again with the skylights?
So I just want to, one more time. We want to visible, it's visible. We want to say that no skylights at all. For second option, reduce to two smaller one. Third option, perhaps just leave one. And just finish one.
So I guess what comes to mind is approve the project, condition it on this rendering, this line of sight, this over-the-counter consultation with staff. If it fails, if it shows that it is visible from the street, why don't we could have two choices. Eliminate or come back. Otherwise, I think we have too many this and that, and like how big are they going to be? And is a reduction going to satisfy what you're concerned about? I don't know. Fortunate, I know we want to. I mean, we want to approve it. We want to approve it, but we also have the duty
Would,
to go by the guidelines, and that's pretty clear.
can I ask the applicant a question?
Sure.
Would you be open to a condition where line of sight, if a line of sight study demonstrates that it's not visible, obviously you get approved, but if it is, then you do not install the skylights and you come back with that particular sign option, you still want it to DRC? That way you can get your approval now. So in other words, the specific direction would be if the line of sight confirms it's not visible, it's approved. But if it confirms it's visible, you do not get it, and then you come back to DRC once you pursue those skylights. That's what I'm saying. So you wouldn't get, so the direction would be, if I understood, you wouldn't get to install it. But if you want to come back at a later date, either one, you can redesign so that you can install them so it's not visible from the public right away. Staff can approve that over the counter. Or if you still want it, but it's visible from the street, you would have to come back to DRC. Would that be something that DRC is open to?
Are you okay with that? Yeah. You're okay, okay. I think that's all. Good idea. Okay, so. Would like to make a motion? Vice Chair, would you like to make a motion? So what are we calling this? A line of sight study?
Correct.
So I'll move to approve. Design review case number 22-49 and 22-63 at 1831 Windsor Road. With the condition that the applicant will provide to city staff a line of sight study and rendering to show whether the two proposed skylights on the south side are not visible from the street, from Windsor Road. If it is the case that they are not visible, then the whole project may proceed. If it is the case that they are visible, then the applicant will have a choice of eliminating the two skylights from the proposed design.
I wouldn't give a choice. I would just say they're not allowed to install the skylights.
Okay,
I'll leave it
so
at that.
if it's the case that the two skylights on that south side are visible from the street, those two skylights are removed from the project.
Correct. Which would then allow you the opportunity to look for other options that cannot be visible from the street. Or if they're visible, if you still want to have them visible from the street, you come back to this.
But they could continue with the project. Let them-
So the
they can
option,
move on.
right, to be clear, the option is line of sight confirms whether they're visible or not. If they're not visible, they get to install them as they are right now, proposed in the plans. If they are visible, they're not allowed to install.
You have a second?
I second that.
Okay, roll call.
Yes.
Vice Chair McKay
Yes.
and Chair Laycon.
Yes.
Okay, that's a 3-0 vote for approval. With conditions.
Or do you want to?
We're gonna have our discussion.
Well, I actually would have to present the items and then it's full.
Just, so we're ready for item 2, right?
We're ready for item 2.
Okay.
Is it an item action?
Yes, it is an item. Yeah, no. So this item is an update on a discussion on the update of the ad hoc committee's progress of the pre-approved roofing material colors and application list. Back in 2020, the city council directed staff to evaluate the city's pre-approved roofing materials list. And due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the committee was unable to meet in person or review materials. And so we are now at a point where we're getting back on schedule to updating this list. At the November 21st, 2020 Planning Commission meeting, they formed an ad hoc committee, which consists of Commissioner Dustin and Chair Brody to form the ad hoc committee, which has since and is continuously to today researching products to add to the list, which will then be formally presented to the DRC. The point of this item being on the agenda is to open the discussion so that when we do bring the formal list to you, we have all the necessary items that the DRC is wishing to look for. For instance, if you want staff to provide you with samples, which is kind of given, but we will, or if you want staff to do another item to help you prep for the roofing update, we can do more research. So this is an open discussion of staff asking the DRC on what you're looking for when we formally come back to you with the revised list.
Some idea of how much has been discussed by the ad hoc.
Yeah, so pretty much indicated some new materials that they would like to introduce for consideration. They would also like to see a discussion on the possibility of expanding when composition shingle can be used or approved. Well, in general. So I think, you know, and we'll obviously have more specifics once we have a staff report ready for you for when it's formally agendized. At this point, we would just like to know, I know in previous discussions, some of you have already started, you've done some research, you have some items, some materials that you know would like us to consider. So, you know, we would like to know whether you want to discuss that right now or whether you want to, you know, notify staff about your research. Also, when we come back to you formally, what, you know, obviously you maybe you want to shoot examples of all the materials. Maybe you would like us to reach out to manufacturers, reps to see if they can testify in regards to some of the material. Really up to you. Really, we're here to take notes and figure out how you would like to.
And the ad hoc committee was the two,
Correct.
not the original three.
No, it was
with the
just,
architect.
it was just Chair Brody and Vice Chair.
And are they anticipating to add quite a few or propose additions, materials that we don't know? Yeah.
There's definitely an interest in expanding the composition shingle selection, adding a couple more simulated wood shape. And I think one more item, but it's not finalized at this point, but definitely an expansion upon our current list. And then the obvious notations of past practices in regards to, you know, adding TL to the presidential, adding some more colors that the DRC has approved in the past, items like that.
So, we're not talking about research. I have been trying to update on this. Well, various points in the past. Planners, and also as recent as December 7th, I sent an email to our current staff. So so I just want to make sure that well, again, the ad hoc members and the staff are very knowledgeable, more so than us. But for the little research I have, for example, the Borough line now is really not Borough anymore because Borough was bought out by Westlake. So if we put on Borough that the applicants go out there, they can't even find a website. So you got to go on Westlake, but then even you're lucky enough to find Westlake, there's no Borough, and there is no Monterey shape anymore under Borough, and then the Da Vinci is also owned by Westlake. So Da Vinci, Borough, the so-called right now you can't find Borough Cedar Light, but you can find Cedar Light. It's under Westlake. It's Newport Cedar Light. It's the company is called Newport Cedar Light. So you can still find Cedar Light 600, for example, but it's my point is you just need to update all that information. It's not Borough anymore. Same thing for my last research. Monterey shape was stopped. I think something similar. Now it's called the Vera. So I don't really have anything new materials I would like to put in there, considered. I just want to say that finally, this is the time to really kind of expand and tighten up all the information, make it correct. So, and maybe note the materials. For example, Da Vinci simulated wood shape is compared to Cedar Light. I don't think it's very clear because Cedar Light is a concrete material. I think that's also maybe helpful to note that. And while Da Vinci simulated wood is a resin, it's a composite resin material. That kind of stuff, I just hope that this is an opportunity for us to kind of.
And then that's the intent, to make those clarifications. I think also what staff will recommend for both the ERC and planning commission discussion points is what happens when the manufacturer buys out another manufacturer. Because obviously this is approved through a resolution. Staff does not have the ability to amend the resolution unless given specific direction by the authoritative body. So there should be a procedure that stipulates what happens in the event that a manufacturer changes hands. You have, some company buying another company and changing the names. So I think those are the type of discussion points we would like to obviously have both the ERC and the planning commission engaged in order to be more helpful for residents as, these things evolve over time.
The one thing about the wood shape roof that used to be on, will we be able to put that back on?
I would-
Fire.
Yes, Commander Chow's reading my mind. All the comments we have already pre-drafted. Definitely the expansion of, especially the public doesn't understand the difference between Cedar Light and Da Vinci. In regards to like a plastic looking material versus a cement. And I would like to be more descriptive in that list as well. I am drafting it to add wood shingle on it with the condition that the fire department has approved because it's quite confusing to the public and to staff. So yes, we will add it on with the conditions that they are allowed within the code. Is there an interest to look into finding the replacement model for the Monterey Shake that has since been eliminated? For instance, you mentioned that it potentially was replaced by Madeira, sorry. Yeah, is there an interest to bring that on if it is a replacement?
I haven't really done my homework on there. I just know that it's for me, that's the replacement.
Mhm.
But I haven't done my homework enough to see that, please consider that. However, the staff can always ask the committee.
The intent is,
Yeah.
the intent is not to get into specifics for now, it's just more of what you would like us to bring forward as we generate this item, and for us to kind of daylight some of the issues.
I want to see wood, and I want to see more wood shake options versus.
The simulated wood shake options, yeah.
And I think the discussion here, director. Then that we come back. On John, they're super knowledgeable.
Joanne, so I agree with Chair. I would like to see more shape options. I don't have any suggestions, but I think that when you what do we call this? That's the approved list needs to reflect the colors that we've already, like, for example, on Certainty Residential, it says country gray. Well, we know that we've approved shadow gray times, we know we've approved autumn blend. Both of those need to be included. And I would also suggest that there are a couple of other colors that staff or the subcommittee wants to propose that we be able to consider those. And so I would really like to see samples.
Yeah.
I would like to see samples of any new manufacturer, not representatives of the manufacturer present, just the samples, so that we can judge for ourselves. And then any other colors, because I think that there's been a really a recognition over the past, at least of my tenure on the committee, that we don't want to have a neighborhood that where every house is country gray. I mean, that's just not, that's not helpful, I don't think. Thank you.
Are you going to speak to any roofing contractors in the area? Is that an option to talk about? The quality, durability, maybe areas that they're seeing.
I think staff is gonna reach out to the experts, to determine what, materials out there, obviously of high end quality. So we'll use whatever resources we have available to bring you the best, information that we can, so that you can make a wise decision.
And is there, you talked about the Tesla roof?
What would you like to know?
Just, is it just one style? Without that.
Currently, as far as I know, there is one style. And because it's actually solar panels within the shingles, it's considered a solar roof. So it won't necessarily be shown on our pre-approved list, but it is something a resident could install in their home.
And actually, our next year will be a lot.
What's happening next year?
We have to implement an electronic program that basically helps verify themselves. And we have to provide approval to it. Right. So we have to make it easier for them, easier access to our website.
Are other materials coming out? You know? On the horizon, new materials that are coming out, new technologies. Is there something that's lingering out there that we?
That's going to be part of the research as we endeavor into this project.
So, did you get to it?
We got it now.
Okay. Approve the minutes. There are. Please.
So on item number 2, we're talking about March 15th, 2023 meeting. The minutes reflect the current committee member having moved and then seconded by myself, but the minutes reflect that the item is denied. It's not denied, the item is approved, so it's a pretty significant change, and that needs to be reflected. And then on item number 3, I would just suggest that spelling of both individuals' names who provided comment, including our own alternate. Ferguson is Suzanne Ferguson. There's an additional N, but in terms of substance, item number 2 needs to reflect that this committee approved that item. Not deny it.
Motion to approve with those changes?
Yes.
I'll move to approve the regular meeting of the Design Review Committee of Wednesday, March 15, 2020. Proceeding amendments.
Second, that.
Committee member Chow,
Yes.
Vice Chair McKay,
Yes.
and Chair Lee Kong.
Yes.
3-0 vote for approval of the minutes with conditions.
3 items. First one, staff received direction from the city council to begin the process of updating the pre-approved windows list. So you will no longer pursue the discussion we had last week. Now have the direction. I will inform DRC and future directors report as to how that will be accomplished. Second, the DRC appeal hearing, or DRC appeal denial for the reroute at 1360 Bradbury was overturned by the planning commission. they approved the material that the applicant requested. And finally, this is Kellen Mark's last meeting with us. This is the last time you'll see that Hollywood sign. He decided to move on.
To Hollywood?
Well, I closer.
Is
Closer.
it going?
So I want to personally, staff wants to thank. We are going to miss Kellen, I don't know if you want to say some last remark.
Yes, I just want to say it's been a pleasure working with everyone, and Chair, you're correct. I'm moving on to the City of Los Angeles in-house for the City Attorney's Office. So you're correct in your guess, but I wish everyone here the best. And I know in the time I've been here, you've been really wanting to update those pre-approved lists. So, hopefully it gets done. It sounds like you're on your way. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. And good luck.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Adjourn. I will adjourn the meeting at 7:22. And we will meet again on April 19th. Bye, Kellen.